Welcome to Greek for a Week. We are looking at 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 7 and 8. And I know that I mentioned last week we were going to diagram verses 1 through 6. And after looking at the text and looking at some things, I went ahead and pressed on to verses 7 and 8. So now that we will have accomplished verses 1 through 8 at the end of this video, then I will go ahead next week and I will diagram verses 1 through 8. There seems to be a little bit of a break at verse 9, and so I'll move verses 9 through 12 to another paragraph, to another diagram, and so we'll focus on 1 through 8 next week. So verse 7 and verse 8 is the topic of this week. Again, we're still in Paul's example of ministry paragraph, verses 1 through 12. And let's translate, and then we'll move forward. So although being able with importance to be as apostles of Christ, but we were gentle in the midst of you, as when a nursing mother tenderly cares for her own children, having a fond affection of you. We were pleased to share to you not only the gospel of God, but also our very own souls, because you became dear ones to us. So if you look at this this first verse here, verse 7, you'll notice that I started with the word although in my translation here. Although being able. So what we have is we have a present middle participle, plural, nominative, masculine of the word dunamai. The word dunamai would be able, capable, maybe even use the word ability. So I've labeled that as a concessive participle to set up that although this was the case, what we really did was the end of verse 8. So I label that as a concessive participle. And then the anai here, the anai is my infinitive. That's my present active infinitive of the word ami. And I've labeled that one as a complementary infinitive. Although being able to do what? And that's where this complementary infinitive takes place, being able to be. And then what it is as apostles of Christ. And the word as here is a comparative term. Basically, he's comparing himself to the apostle of Christ. Although we were able to do that, he says, but what happened is we were gentle. In other words, we didn't bring that authority or that authoritative posture of apostles of Christ, but strong contrast, but we were gentle. So here's the we were, and then he says gentle here among you. Again, comparative one more time, as a nursing mother tenderly cares for her own children. So you have these two comparative terms where Paul is trying to provide the basis for his actions. Then you get into verse 8, and now you have the hame ramanoi. So here's our participle here, present middle participle, plural, nominative masculine of ame ramai, probably a circumstantial participle. So what happens is the action of this participle is, you could say, occurring at the same time as the action of the verb, which is we were pleased. So having this fond affection, we were pleased. We were pleased to do what? Well, we were pleased, and here's another complementary infinitive. We were pleased to share. So if we go back to this verbal form here, kumen, that's a first person plural imperfect active indicative, dekeo. And then your metadunai is your aorist active infinitive of metadinomai. And that is your complementary infinitive. We were pleased to share. And then again, to you. And here's what's really interesting. This is where Paul says it's not only the gospel of God. So he is negating the sharing of the gospel of God to emphasize, but what we did do is we gave of our own souls. And here's the word for souls. So Paul is, again, trying to impress upon them that this example of ministry, we could have been an authoritative apostle, and we could have really at some level brought the hammer down, but we didn't do that. We came alongside of you as a mother does, caring for her children, and we also we were pleased to share to you the gospel. Again, not just because it was our responsibility to do so, but here we go. You became very dear to us. So this agapetoi here is you were the dear ones or the beloved ones, again, to us. So I think Paul's kind of wrapping up the first 8 verses here to help these Thessalonians see his intention for ministering to them. So like I said, next week we'll look at verses 1 through 8. We'll diagram that out and see how Paul puts everything together. Have a great week.